This is going to be a reading of pages 279 to 283. So we're in part 3 of your Human Odyssey book, and always take a look at the pictures. There's some pretty cool things there to look at. So what's so classic about the classical world? I love that book. It's a classic. What do we mean when we say that a work of literature is a classic? We mean it has lasting value. We mean that the writing is so superb, or the story so compelling, or the theme so universal, or all of those at once, that the book will merit attention for generations. The Iliad and the Odyssey, for example, are classics. So are works by Shakespeare, Jane Austen, and Mark Twain. In literature, a classic captures the imagination of people past, present, and very likely future. In other words, it is timeless. In history, however, we mean something different when we use the terms classic or classical. In history, those terms refer to a particular time and place. Classical civilization refers to the civilization of ancient Greece and Rome between about 500 BC and AD 500. These two Mediterranean civilizations stretched thousands of miles and flourished for nearly 1,000 years. Classical civilization is also classic in the sense of timeless. Ideas and institutions from ancient Greece and Rome have continued to influence people for more than 2,000 years, especially in the West. Let's take a look at some traces of classical Greece and Rome around us. Classical roots of modern language. Every day, people in English-speaking cultures use words that have roots in the ancient Greek and Roman languages. The word history comes from the Greek histor, meaning learned. When you say, I've got to make a telephone call, you are using a term that comes from two Greek words, tele, far off, and phone, meaning voice or sound. When you say, I'm going to listen to some music, you're using a word that descends from music, the Greek term for any art inspired by the goddesses known as the Muses. Latin, the language of the ancient Romans, is the foundation for French, Italian, and Spanish, among other modern tongues. They are known as Romance languages, not because they are good ways to communicate when people are in love, but because they developed from the Roman language. The English language uses thousands of words that come from Latin. Here are a few. Agriculture, agricola, meaning farmer. Aquatic, aqua, meaning water. Fortune, fortuna, meaning chance. Library, liber, meaning book. Literature, literaire, meaning letter. Nature, natura, nature. Student, studere, to study. And terrain, terra, meaning land. The drama of it all. Stories passed down from the ancient Greeks and Romans are among the greatest tales ever told. Hercules performing impossible labors, Pandora opening the mysterious box, the Trojans pulling the great wooden horse inside the walls of their city. The title of this series, The Human Odyssey, comes from the Greek poem featuring the hero Odysseus. The Greeks also gave the world drama, the art of storytelling on stage. The word theater comes from the Greek theatron, which means viewing place. Modern-day artists, poets, authors, and movie directors often turn to Greek myths and plays for inspiration. As you've learned, the Greeks crafted marble and bronze sculptures that celebrated the human form. Those works still influence ideals of human beauty. Classical notions of beauty also live in today's buildings. If you go to Washington, D.C. and want to see the United States Constitution, you must visit the National Archives building. That huge columned structure right here, was built to resemble a Greek temple. Just up the street, the U.S. Capitol building, with its great dome, is inspired by both Greek and Roman architecture. The Romans were among history's greatest builders. Whenever you see a building with a rounded arch, you're looking at a design the Romans perfected. The famous Arc de Triomphe in Paris is an architectural tribute to the Roman arch. The Romans invented concrete, which allowed them to build massive structures. Today's engineers and architects still study Roman roads, bridges, and buildings. So, science and mathematics. The ancient Greeks viewed the world as an orderly place that operates according to natural laws. They believed that human beings could, through study and reason, come to understand the laws of nature. Greek thinkers made careful observations of nature. Several branches of science, such as biology, zoology, astronomy, and ecology, take their names from Greek words. The philosopher Democritus was one of the first to argue that everything in the world is made of invisible and individual particles. He called such a particle atomos, which means uncuttable. From Democritus, we get the word atom. The ancient Greek physician Hippocrates is sometimes called the father of medicine. Today, many doctors take a pledge called the Hippocratic Oath, in which they promise to treat patients to the best of their abilities. To the Greeks, no subject was more important than mathematics. At a famous school in Athens, an inscription over the door read, "Let no one enter here who is ignorant of geometry." Perhaps you have studied the Pythagorean theorem, a famous formula about right angles, any triangle with a 90-degree angle, named after the Greek mathematician Pythagoras. It is one of many important mathematical concepts the Greeks gave us. The Romans also left their mark on science and mathematics. For example, scientists still use Latin names to classify plants and animals. Most of the planets in our solar system, from Mercury to Pluto, are named for gods of the ancient Romans. Now, civics and government. Many governments around the world reflect the legacy of classical times. Modern democracies have inherited many Greek ideas, including government by the people, trial by jury, and equality before the law. Democracies also owe much to the Romans, who, as you will learn, had a genius for making and administering laws. The men who wrote the United States Constitution studied the history of classical times. They looked to ancient Greece and Rome to learn how to set up a government. When they designed a legislature for the United States, they called one house the Senate. As you'll learn, the Romans also had a Senate. Many ideas about a balanced government, a government divided into different parts so that no one part grows too powerful, have roots in Roman times. When the American founders chose a motto for the young United States, it was no accident that they used the language of the Romans, e pluribus unum, which is Latin for out of many, one. Classical ideas and symbols abound in the American system of government. Whether you're heading into a voting booth or standing next to the Jefferson Memorial in Washington, D.C., you are enjoying some modern fruits of Greece and Rome. In this section of our book, we'll explore the classical civilizations of ancient Greece and Rome. The Greeks came first. You've already had an introduction to some important ideas the Greeks developed by 500 BC. Now we'll take a closer look at the classical world during an amazing 200-year period. And that's the end of 279 to 283.